Hello, welcome to the countdown to Nintendo Switch 2. We are counting down to the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, and we are on week 6 now, which means we're just 4 weeks away from the full launch of Switch 2, which is very exciting. This week we're going to be talking about third-party titles, mainly Hyrule Warriors and the Duskbloods, and then briefly talking about the others as well. So let's get straight into it. So one of the biggest third-party games we got was the announcement of Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, being made by Koei Tecmo's AAA game studio, or AAA game studio, I don't know how you're supposed to say that, with it being published by Nintendo, obviously being a Zelda game. Personally, I was a bit disappointed by this one. I did really enjoy the first Hyrule Warriors. I kind of just played through the main campaign and a little bit of other stuff here and there. I kind of wanted to dig into everything because there was so much to that game, but there was just so much to that game. And I didn't love the gameplay. I just kind of appreciated all the Zelda references and stuff. Age of Calamity I was a bit disappointed by. I didn't really get on with it, didn't really appreciate the story aspect of it. I didn't get very far into it, to be fair, and would like to give it a try at some point, but it's apparently quite long, and yeah, I just don't think I'm going to. Maybe if they do an update on Switch 2, like before this one comes out, maybe I'll give it another try, but I'm not going to hold my breath for that. And there was also the scene in the trailer where it kind of shows you playing as Zelda from like behind her, like third-person perspective kind of thing, which I guess is how those games are played. But this was like it wasn't an action scene; it seemed to be a story beat, and it made me think it maybe would be more of an action adventure than just a Hyrule Warriors, and that got me pretty excited for the idea of that. But it's not the case. It is just another Hyrule Warriors, which is cool. Those games are good. I'm not trying to say they're not good at all. Just not super my thing. My favorite of them was Fire Emblem Warriors, so if they can add some of the like more strategic elements from that, I would appreciate it. But again, I don't think they're going to. I also have to admit, I'm not that interested in the idea of this story. I feel like we heard enough about this Age of Imprisonment in the main game being Tears of the Kingdom. You hear the same story from it 4 times as you beat each dungeon. Or is it 5 times? With something, I can't remember. So yeah, I'm not super excited by the idea of that. I'm interested in what characters are going to be playable. Obviously, usually there's tons of playable characters, but the most recent Dynasty Warriors game, Origins, I believe it's called, you just played as the one main character. I think maybe you could briefly switch to some other characters or something like that, but it was predominantly the one character, so maybe they're going to do the same here, and with it being predominantly Zelda being played, that could be really cool. They could then give us some really cool movesets, so that would be interesting. But I'm worried it's going to be Zelda, and then the 2 Zonai, Rauru, and the other one, I can't remember, and then also Minerva. No, Mineru, I think. And then the 4 like champions or whatever they called them in this game. And I gotta admit, I'm not excited at the prospect of playing as any of them. Maybe Mineru a little bit with the whole construct thing. That could be interesting, maybe. But I'm not like chomping at the bit to get to play as them, so it's not a super exciting prospect. I feel like they're gonna do some silly story thing to like get Link playable, like be like, oh, we're gonna reach forward in time and pull him back to now, and I don't know. I don't think that's very interesting. So yeah, gotta admit, not super into it, but I will admit it does look really nice, like graphically, compared to Age of Calamity and the original Hyrule Warriors. It looks very crisp and clean. And it looks smooth. Obviously, they're not likely to put the worst parts in the trailer, so maybe there will still be frame drops, but from what we saw, it did look at least nice. I kind of hope they do a demo so I can just get to try it and just get a play of it, but because I don't think I'm going to buy it. Maybe if there's nothing else coming out at the time and people say it's really good, I'll give it a try, but I think it's unlikely, unfortunately. So the trailer says it's coming out in winter, which I assumed kind of meant December this year. But then I recently got an email from Nintendo which had like a list of 2025 games, and it included like Debbie Air Riders and things like that. But then it had like coming next year, and it included Hyrule Warriors, so I guess it's going to be like a January-February game, which is a pretty good time for it. I think that's usually when there's not too many games coming out, although February's getting pretty busy lately, so we'll see. But I think if they could release like mid of January, just get people who are not finally looking to spend more money after Christmas, I think that'd fit well for it. And I think that's when Origins came out this year, or last year, or whenever that was. So I think that would make sense. Then we also got a surprise announcement of a brand new exclusive to Switch 2 From Software game being published by Nintendo called the Duskbloods. I know a lot of people thought it might be Bloodborne related when it was appearing. I kind of got that vibe. I haven't played Bloodborne, that's one I need to get around to. But I didn't think it would be, because I'm pretty sure PlayStation own that, and I know like they just announced, what was it, Patapon and Everybody's Golf coming to Switch, but I don't think PlayStation see Bloodborne as the same level as those games, so I didn't think it was likely to be the case, and of course it's not. But it does feel like this is kind of them kind of skirting the legality of doing a quote-unquote Borderlands 2 or Borderlands spin-off game by making it very similar, but not quite. So yeah, that's cool. When I saw the trailer, I was really excited for it. I thought it looked really cool, and I was hoping it was going to be more of a Bloodborne, Dark Souls kind of smaller thing than an Elden Ring kind of thing, but I couldn't really tell. And then, of course, afterwards, we learned it's neither of those. It's actually not even a single-player RPG. It's a PvPvE extraction kind of game, which is not my jam. But if it's ever going to be my jam, I think it's going to be one made by From Software and directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki. I feel like they've earned my trust from every game I've played from them so far. I've still got a few to get to, but like Bloodborne, for example. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt at the moment. I'm no longer super excited like I was after initially seeing the first trailer, but I think there's a chance it's going to be cool. They released a creative voice. Nintendo released this from Hidetaka Miyazaki, pardon me, talking about the game. And what he said about it did sound interesting. It didn't sound like it was a case of, they're just trying to make this to make money. It sounded like he really had some unique ideas. He said he wanted to make it because he doesn't like those kind of games, or isn't good at those games. I can't remember which it was. And that's kind of where I'm coming from it. I'm not good at them. I don't particularly like them. So if somebody like that is making this, then maybe it will be made kind of more for me, and it will speak to me more. We'll have to wait and see on that. But there were some cool things coming out of that creative voice, like the idea of there being, I think they called them roles, and you would choose like a role, and one of them was Destined Rival, where at the start of a match you'd be told, this is somebody you don't like, you have to kill them, and then you'll get like good rewards from that. So even if you lose the whole match, if you can kill that one, then you'll still get good rewards. Obviously, you'll get even more if you do win as well. And then similarly, but also opposite, it was something like Destined Partner or something like that, where at the start you'd be told, this person is your friend, like go and help them, and then if they do well, you do well. And that sounds cool. So even if you are against each other, you can at least have one person to kind of team up with. So yeah, it sounds interesting. I kind of just want to see like a full playthrough to see how it works and what changes between the missions, and is it all the same map all the time? I've never played any extraction shooters, so I don't know how they typically work. So yeah, it's very interesting. I'm really hoping they release a beta of some kind so I can at least just try it and see if it's for me. Because if it's going to be like a full price game, would they release it full price? I don't know. If they do release it full price, I'm not sure I'm going to pick it up without being able to try it first, because I can imagine it's something I'll try and play for a couple hours and maybe even enjoy, but then just never go back to. I tend to not like repeating things over and over in games. With obviously multiplayer games, it can be alleviated by playing with friends, but I don't see this as being one you play with friends. It seems because it's like 8 players, and I'm guessing you can't group up. So I'm assuming you can't go in with a group. I hadn't thought about that until just now. That would be really weird if you could actually. But then it's also weird to do a multiplayer game that you have to play alone. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that stops me from just going, I'm not into it. Like I kind of have been with like Bungie's Marathon and Escape from Tarkov the whole time I've been hearing about. And then you have one Arc Raiders that's coming out soon. Is being tested at the moment. Those are games that I'm sure are good, but just not my thing. So I've just let them be and kind of moved on with my life. So I hope this isn't going to be the case for the Duskbloods, because it's from software and they're cool. So I want it, but currently I'm just in a wait and see mode for it. So then the other third-party stuff we got was just a lot of announcements of this game that is already out on other platforms is coming to Switch too, and this one, and that one, and the other one, which is really cool. Usually at a console launch presentation, or reveal presentation rather, Nintendo will say, oh, EA are going to be doing this, or Ubisoft are going to be doing this, and maybe some of the heads up at the companies will come out and say how they're excited to support the new console, and they never back it up with games. Like eventually we'll get one game from them being something random that doesn't come out at a good time and doesn't sell well, and then they go, oh, we tried and failed, so we're not going to support Nintendo anymore. This time, I don't think there was any of that. I think every single company there had at least one game to show that seems to be coming out, if not at launch, then very quickly after. Like I said, there was a lot of them, a lot of the ones you would expect and hope for, and a lot of them that were announced that are coming out on launch day or at least soon after. I don't think any of them were announced for next year. I think it was all this year, so that's cool. There were some big absences. Like Xbox didn't really have a presence. Like they had the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4. Obviously that's more of an Activision thing, and they do own them now, but recently. So it feels like Xbox weren't really there. I'm wondering if there's some deal with Nintendo to, announce all of them, maybe release a bunch of them all at once sometime after the console launches. Similarly, Ubisoft just had Star Wars Outlaws. I was expecting something from like Mario plus Rabbids, getting like upgrades, like Switch 2 editions or something, or something brand new, or at least like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Mirage, Valhalla, like some level of those, but we just got Outlaws. Maybe it is just because Nintendo wanted it to focus on the stuff coming this year, so maybe all those are in the works, but for next year. And again, Capcom, like we got a couple from them, being Street Fighter Infinite Sikami. I think that was all we got from those. But where are all the Resident Evils, like Monster Hunters? Not that I think Wild is going to come, because it doesn't work well on any platform, so I think Switch 2 would be a struggle. But still, I kind of expected at least like Resident Evil 4 or 2 or 7, 8, something like that. So what's left to come? All of those I just mentioned. But again, I think they are waiting. I don't know, maybe Nintendo are going to do a direct in June or July or something. That'll be when we get a lot of those announcements. For Xbox, maybe they're planning to have like a section of their summer show dedicated to these are the games we're bringing to Switch 2. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I think it's really cool how much third-party support the Switch 2 seems to be getting. Personally, I won't be playing many of them on Switch 2. I've got a PC, I've got a PlayStation 5, and for those kind of games, typically I want them to look good. I know it doesn't matter, but I don't really care about the portability of Switch, so if I'm going to be playing at home anyway, I might as well play it on a platform that's going to run it better. So that's typically what I'll do. I think it's really cool to have them all there. Obviously, like Cyberpunk and stuff as well, it's really cool that they're supporting the platform really well with like seemingly every feature of the Switch 2 is there. So that's very cool. But then also from third parties, I think we can get more exclusives like the first two titles in this video. I think there's a good chance Capcom will do some kind of exclusive Resident Evil, although at this point I expect it to only be exclusive for like 6 months, a year. Maybe it'll be longer, maybe Nintendo still do care about that. We'll see how the Duskbloods goes, like if that comes to other platforms soon after, or if it is. I mean, they are publishing it, so it does make it feel like it's going to be something that's exclusive for a long time, but we'll have to see. With Resident Evil, I think that they will, eventually release on other platforms. Similarly with Monster Hunter, like they usually have like the big one being World and Wilds, and then they have like the in-betweens, with Rise being the Switch one. I think that will happen again. I can also see it coming to other platforms at the same time, or at least not long after. I believe for Rise it was a year until it came out on PC, and then another year until it came out on the other consoles. I think at worst it'll be another year to come out on everything, and I can see it being PC at launch or something like that, but we'll see. It also just might not even happen if they can get Wilds working, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Like I said before, I think Mario plus Rabbids can get the updates, or maybe a new game, or even if it's not actually Mario plus Rabbids, something along those lines I think would be really, really cool. And then all the other ports of every other Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, the other From games like all the Dark Souls, etc. I'm not sure that I want it, but I feel like if we're getting the Duskbloods, there might be some other random exclusives that we just wouldn't have thought of, where they team up with X developer publisher to do something exclusive just because. But we'll have to wait and see. I do hope that Nintendo utilize third parties to work on more of their own IP. I think that's a good way to get more games out and not have to take up development time and resources from their own devs. Yeah, I really hope we get that. I don't have any specific ideas, but it'd be cool maybe like From work on something on one of their own IPs, Metroid. We'll see. So yeah, that'll do it for today. Next week we're going to be discussing Kirby Air Riders, Sakurai, and what all of that means for Smash Bros. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.